G'day everyone, this is Doug Jackson from DougsWordClock.com. Today we're going to be going through how we go about finishing off our DeskClocks, our small 15cm word clock, which has a nice laser cut face. Our DeskClocks are available in a range of colour combinations. We've got cases that are clear, cases that are red, blue, yellow, you name the colour, we can do the case in that, and faces that are available in this beautiful black material, green, silver, white, all sorts of colours. Anyway, the colours are just on the website. I've recently been selling my DeskClock kits as my DeskClocks as a kit, so I thought it would be prudent to do a quick video just to show people how to put them together, just to supplement the instruction manual. So let's have a look. Okay, inside your DeskClock kit you'll get a stack of acrylic pieces. So we have this piece here, this is a base, there's a couple of sides. You'll notice that these are have a nice kind of leaning back shape. There's a top piece, all made out of acrylic. There's a back. There's even little bits of stuff left over from actually doing the laser cutting. Also, there are some baffles. I'll just grab one of those. Some baffles. So there are two baffle sheets, and we'll talk about them in just a minute. There's of course your DeskClock circuit board, which we'll be installing in this particular video, and then there's the face for the DeskClock itself. Also there's a diffuser sheet, which is literally just a sheet of paper. There's a board support. With this is designed to actually hold the circuit board in place. There are three little pieces of scrap material that are to make it so that it lifts the face up, and there's a tiny little black shim which is also important as well. So how do we go about making one of our DeskClocks? Well, firstly you're going to need a few materials. You're going to need some sort of acrylic solvent. I use a product which is called Acrylic, which is available here in Australia. Unfortunately, it's dissolved the face of the label. Acrylic 105, which is available from any decent sign writing supplier. Overseas, you will have other acrylic solvents that are available. I do know that people have successfully assembled word clocks in the past using the good old hot melt glue gun, and of course, being a workshop, I too have a hot melt glue gun. I would strongly discourage people from using hot melt glue for putting these together, especially the clear cases, because hot melt glue is going to look a bit ugly, and it may not give you the result that you're expecting. So have a chat to a sign writing supplier in your particular city and find out what they use for gluing acrylic or perspex together. Now, I decant my solvents into a small squeeze bottle with a blunt, very important that it's blunt, syringe end, and that makes it so that I can very easily control the amount of solvent that gets applied to a joint. And of course, because we're working with solvent, safety glasses. Safety glasses are absolutely mandatory, so there we go, safety glasses are on. You may not have seen that, but that's okay. So now, something that we need to note, when you look at the frame, you'll notice that the face, the face is indented from the edge of the clock by about 3 millimeters. Now, strangely, I use 3mm acrylic in my workshop. Even better than that, when I cut one of my baffles, you can see that there is an abundance of little pieces of acrylic left over. Traditionally, I've been tossing them in the bin because for the life of me I can't think of what to use them for. I've been maintaining a couple, but in this particular case, this is every single kit that I send out is going to have a set of these components to make it easier to put the clock together. Interestingly enough, when you assemble the clock itself, you'll assemble the clock on top of the little pieces of acrylic, and that lifts the face up just by 3mm, just to give you that little bit of spacing. So let's make a start. We have our safety goggles, we have all of the tools that we need. So the first thing that we're going to need to do, the face will come to you and it will come with a protective coating on it. So we're going to remove the protective coating gently and end up, protective coating in the bin, and end up with a face which is insanely shiny and absolutely beautiful. Now if you look really carefully, this edge has a tiny little bump, effectively. I'll call, here in Australia we would call it a dag. I don't know what you'd call it elsewhere. Just use a little file, just gently remove that material. Verify that all four corners are nice and straight, and put it face down onto your supports. Next we need to get the acrylic pieces that actually comprise the frame. Get the side cutters out of the way, I don't need them at the moment. And we'll start off with the base. Now the base has etched into it, and yes, you can see on the camera, there it is, some white lines. Those white lines are actually there to roughen the acrylic up to make it bond really well. These white lines go on the inside edge of the clock, they don't go on the outside edge. So you'll clearly see that the white lines are on one edge, and we very gently place the back, or in this case the bottom, against the edge. Then we grab our acrylic solvent, and we just do a couple of little drops. Remember, this stuff works beautifully well, and we just bond it in one piece. Give it a few seconds to flash off, because of course it is a solvent, and then ta-da, the pieces in one spot. Now we need to get our sides. Now with our sides, there's a protective coating on them. You'll see that it's got this in the case of the clear acrylic, it has a clear protective film on it. In the case of black acrylic or green acrylic, the film might be a type of paper, but essentially we need to get rid of that film, put it into the rubbish bin, blow off any dust, and put it down. Now of course there are two ways up. If you put it the wrong way up, you'll see that the back goes outwards at a great angle. If we put it that way up, it goes the correct way. So in the instruction manual it'll have a very clear diagram for you, but essentially we place the side against the side, gently put a drop of acrylic solvent in there, a little bit more, just a drop up there. Now you'll notice that I'm being very careful not to drip acrylic solvent on the face. The mirror itself is pretty robust, but don't load the dice and cause yourself a problem. Just be very, very careful, and don't put acrylic solvent on the face itself. We'll just grab the other side, here it is, place that against the other edge, you can see that essentially what we're doing is we're building the clock around the face. This method, so far, Doug's, what are we at now? This is July in 2013, and so far Doug's word clock has sold in the vicinity of 100, 120 of these desk clocks. So this construction method has worked out really, really, really well. It's fairly easy. You do have to be patient, and I'm actually pretty pleased with it. In the olden days, I used to route the material for these clocks. Now I cut them all on my little laser cutter. Okay, so we've got two sides, a bottom mounted onto our face. The next step is to get the top. Now you'll see that the top has, I don't know if you can see in this light, it has 3 holes. There's a hole there, a hole there, and a hole there. We place those holes at the back of the clock, so facing up, and on the left hand side. So there we go. So we've got the top in place. So again, just a small drop of solvent. How did the world make things before we had these beautiful solvents available? Aha! Now in this case, I've actually noticed that this little face has a tiny little lump at the very, very, very top, which I haven't removed thoroughly. So I'll just spend a second now with my little file. I'll do this in the camera so that you can see. There we go. We've now removed it. Nice and flat. We should have checked that before we started. In 99.999% of the cases, you're going to find that the top is dead flat anyway. It's just very, very, very occasionally there's a little problem, and it's easy to fix. Very, very, very easy. So let's just rebond this side. I just undid it because what I found was that I wasn't actually all the way down, so I was sitting high. So we need to be all the way down. You'll find that the other sides are exactly the correct size to fit the sides are exactly the correct height to fit the face. So again, it's all just about being gentle and doing it a step at a time. So I'll just bond this top corner here. Drop of solvent along the top. We'll let that cure. Temperature in the workshop is pretty low. These solvents prefer to operate really, really, really well when it's toasty warm. It's a lovely Canberra winter's day at the moment, and makes it a little tricky, but again, take it easy, step at a time. Beautiful. Last edge. That's all it takes. Again, hold it in for a few seconds, nice and firm, and then it will bond. I promise it's not like watching paint dry. It's a lot easier than that. So there we go, there's our frame. Now we can double check the spacing, double check that everything is nice and neat, and it's looking really good. I'm very, very, very pleased. I didn't do that on camera, sorry. We'll just double check that everything looks bonded. So there we go, that's our frame. Now, the next step is to let the frame sit somewhere safe for half an hour to bond. So while that frame is sitting waiting, here's another frame that I put together this morning, which is now bonded nice and tight, so everything's really solid. We don't need our little spaces anymore, they can go off. It's probably important for them not to end up being children's toys. Children end up swallowing stuff. So we can now go about actually assembling our clock inside the frame. So the first thing to put in to our frame is we put in our little piece of diffuser paper. What the diffusing paper does is it just spreads the light out evenly across each of the words. The next thing to put in is the piece of baffle material. Now just make sure that there's no protective paper on the baffles. It goes with the 3 holes facing the top and the fat hole over the word quarter. Actually, that's worthwhile showing you on this particular video. Let's just remove this piece of paper so that you can see what the baffles do. Put the baffle in the correct way, there it is. So, you can see, for example, there is the word a quarter. So, when the word a quarter is lit up, the little baffles stop the light from lighting up the adjacent words. And you can see that it's important that the baffles go in the correct way, otherwise you'll have issues. Let's turn this over so that we're putting, as we're doing the assembly, you can see it the correct way up. So we'll go in with our piece of paper, go in with our first baffle, the big one, which is a quarter, goes on that side. Again, first baffle, big one goes on that side. Now we need 2 sets of baffles because we need 6 millimeters of spacing between the LEDs and the front of the face. Next, we grab our controller card that we finished for our clock. First thing we do, run our fingers over the areas where we soldered and make sure that they're flat. This one isn't quite flat, so I'm sure we can remove a little bit more material from it. There we go. Now, before we actually put it into the frame forever, we can do a quick power up test. So plug in, I've just got a little 12-volt cable, turn it on, and we should see each of the words lighting up one at a time. Again, do it again. So you can see each of the words lights up, and we don't have any words that are partially lit. If we push one of the time buttons, the time changes again, everything's beautiful. That board is absolutely fine to go and put into the clock. Now, make sure that there are no foreign bodies inside there. We don't want, to have stuff floating around. Push the frame in so that the buttons go through the hole, and it should just sit down. And the board shouldn't really rock. The other thing is, when you push on the buttons should push comfortably. If you find, I'll just lift the board up, that the buttons push but they don't come up, it's because you haven't spent enough time making sure the area beneath the area on the inside of the board is flat. So just go back and spend a little bit of effort doing that. Next, we need our spacer, which is this tiny little component here. The spacer just sits at the bottom of the clock, just to lift it up, lift the frame up to stop it shaking up and down. Buttons still operate, and we just use a tiny single drop of solvent. Not a lot of solvent, just a single drop, because all we need to do is we just need to attach that spacer. Next, we have our back support. So again, we remove, in this case, it's covered in protective paper. We remove that because we don't need it. It can go into position down the bottom. Now, this piece of material is there so that when you unplug the clock, the whole frame doesn't move. So the only area that's important to bond with this is the bottom. So just 2 drops, maybe 3, in the bottom, and leave it to sit for a minute. Now, while it's busy bonding, you can find the back of the clock. Here we have it here. Again, you'll see that it has, in the case of the clear ones, it has a piece of clear protective film which we can remove and put in the bin. Now, decision time. When the frames go out, they have 2 LEDs in them. You'll notice that there's in this case it's a green LED. I'll turn off the light so it's really clear. And it's an LED with a 10k resistor in series, so it's not very bright. And we also have a little blue LED which pulses. Is that visible there? Yes, it is. Cool. Okay. Now, some people don't like a green light coming from the back of their clock, or a little blue flashing light. So if you decide you don't, and I'm going to remove it here because this is a clear clock. So first thing to do is, if you remove the resistor with just a pair of side cutters, believe it or not, the light never glows again. So if you don't need the component, and that's okay, you can simply remove the 2 resistors. Now the 2 resistors, the power resistor has, I think the label says R43, and the pulse resistor says R2. Next time I do a circuit board layout, I'm going to have to remember to be a little bit more careful with my resistor labeling. Resistor numbers, when you've got buckets of resistors, just increment. That's alright. So what we're going to do now, before we close the clock, we're just going to spend a minute powering it up, double check that all of the words light up. They all light up evenly. You weren't able to actually see that, so I'll unplug it, plug it in again. You should see that every single word lights up crystal clear, and is good. And if that's the case, we're ready to close the clock up. Now, the clock has some engraved text on it. The back has the engraved text. You can simply place the back of the frame onto the clock and it just sits down. Make sure that there's no foreign particles stuck to the case. Story of my life. The people who manufacture hard disks don't have this particular problem. Lift up the frame, and again, just a drop of solvent just to hold the back in. Drop of solvent to hold the back in. Hold it down gently while the solvent flashes off. And you know that you've got adequate solvent in the joint when it looks crystal clear. If it looks full of bubbles or yucky, then you haven't quite got enough solvent in there. Just do a little run of solvent down this bottom edge, just to hold the bottom of the clock in. Now, strangely enough, the clock does get a lot of its strength from this back, so don't be afraid to glue it down properly. If it were just supported by the front, it would just be the face supporting it. So we've got the top done. Now we'll just do the 2 sides. You'll often find just a tiny little lip that you can lean the syringe against. Again, gently run along there, just a dribble, and same on the other side. Gently run it along. Thing of beauty. Make sure it's all straight, and put something with a little bit of mass on top of it, and leave it sit for half an hour or so. while the solvent goes off. So there we go. That's how to make a Doug's Word Clock desk clock from our kit. So the important things to actually that's bonded. It's beautiful. The important things to remember are: do everything a step at a time. Be slow. Be gentle. Be patient. Make sure that all of your edges are bonded well before you start actually making the clock. Remember to remove the protective covering material. So again, I've got a little bit of a protective cover here. There we go. Up it comes. Come on. And they're beautiful, beautiful clocks. If anything, I think these are actually my favourite clocks that I make. I think because they're engineered nicely and they're just very, very clever. So there we go. That's a Doug's Word Clock desk clock. I'll apply some power. I can show you some of the functions. Of course, when you turn it on, it all flashes. It does a little self-test to verify that all of the little lights are happy. Currently believes that it's 25 minutes to 3. These particular clocks do have battery backup. So what's it say now? It's 25 minutes to 4. Unplug the battery, lose some power, battery back in, power back in, and it'll pop up and it should say 25 to 4. As time progresses, I think somewhere around 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, it will enter a dim mode. So let's just rock on past. So that's 6. Actually, specifically, it's 6 o'clock with 1, 2, 3, 4 lights. Tells you it's 4 minutes past 6, 5 past 6. Keep on moving forward in time. 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock, and we haven't dimmed yet, so it must be 9 o'clock at night. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Did you see the brightness level change? Ka-chink. There you go. It's 9 o'clock. Now, for the record, my very patient wife, Megan, on her side of the bed, there's one of those little Panasonic green LED green LED clocks. My clock on my side of the bed chucks out less light than hers does in the middle of the night. I actually really, really, really like that. And of course, because we removed the resistors for the pulse LED and the power LED, it doesn't glow at the back. Of course, when the alarm goes off, when it's alarm time, you can see that the back of the clock does this pleasing flash. When the alarm goes off, it just flashes. So there you go. And that's it. Desk clock. I hope you enjoy making your kit. If you have any issues at all, chuck us an email, doug@dougswordclock.com or doug@dougswordclocks.com. Both of those domains work. But yeah, have fun. Okay, take care. Bye.